I think it's safe to say that a YouTuber that doesn't put out YouTube videos isn't a YouTuber. And I feel like that's what I've been lately. What's happening, guys? What's going on? In today's video, I'm gonna keep you guys up to date and bring you guys, along with what's been happening with me. So, it's pretty much summertime. Well, at least it's around the corner. The nice cars are coming out. Here's my Mini. This currently is in winter mode right now. So I have a just extra set of 17-inch wheels with winter tires on them as my storage wheels and tires. So I don't have this currently in its wide body track ready state. So I'm gonna be changing out the wheels and tires on this thing. I gotta get the fluids up and running on this. If you guys are following my Instagram at milanmastracci, you guys would have seen me start this thing up, and it fired up on the first go, which is actually pretty impressive. This thing has been on the trickle charger ever since winter. I did find a little bit of poop, so I hope I don't have any electrical issues or anything on the inside of the car, but the Mini is coming out for, I'm gonna be playing around with it a lot this coming year. So, yeah, so what have I done? What's new? What's happening with me? Well, since I've seen you guys last, I've kind of gone crazy with buying cars. You guys know right now that I have, what do I have? Okay, so I have the Mini, and I need to kind of make sure I have the camera the right way. I have the Mini and I have the Civic. So I've been doing some work to this. I don't want to show too much, but I have these two cars, and I'm currently in the process right now of taking care of bushings. So the 9th gen Civics do not have a polyurethane bushing kit that you can buy and just slap in this car, which is kind of unfortunate. It's a little surprising too. So I'm piecing together something that will work for this car because I want to replace all of the rubber bushings that are found in this vehicle with upgraded polyurethane ones or spherical wherever possible. Now, that has kind of been put on the back burner right now because I have another car in here, and I bought this one because, well, it was too cheap for me to pass up. You guys know that I have a 09 JCW, and that's what I've been putting all my money and time into. So the Mini that was in the garage that I just showed you, the one that's pepper white. Well, I bought another one, and I fully stripped it back. So this is also an 09 JCW. This thing has a little bit more mileage than my other one, the white one, but I went to the extent to literally take out every single piece to this car. So the interior is pretty much fully stripped back. I removed the motor, I removed the transmission. I'm keeping those, I believe, for myself because I bought this thing for 2 G's, and I wanted this motor and transmission right here as extras. Oops, I just showed you another car. I'll get to that in a second. So I bought the motor and trans as a donor so that if I ever do blow up the motor that's inside my white Mini, I have an extra. Now these things are pretty hard to come by, and I found this whole car assembled together for just over $2 grand. And the nice thing about that is that I was able to source an owner or another Mini person, another Mini enthusiast that wanted to buy the brakes and another one to buy the exhaust system. And those two parts alone pretty much covered the price of this entire car. So I have the engine and transmission, I have a ton of aftermarket, or a ton of OEM parts. So I have the intake, wiper motor, intercooler, sway bars for it, extra axles, those I'm keeping, catalytic converter, intercooler piping, a bunch of extra nuts and bolts from when I removed everything from the car, the rad support, the rad, the AC condenser, along with all of these body parts. So this thing had a JCW Hypersport kit on it, which is technically quite rare. So I'm gonna part ways with some of these pieces, keep some others, but this car was too cheap to pass up on. And I gotta tell you guys, I don't think that I will ever buy another car again to fully strip back because my God, what a pain in the ass it is. There's so much work that needs to be done. So I pretty much spent a solid week straight just taking everything off of this thing. And the worst part was, let me show you. I've been cleaning up a bunch of these parts and keeping some of them, ditching some of them. Fuel tank, there was a good half tank in there. That fuel I put inside of here. That'll probably put inside one of my other cars and use it. Maybe not, we'll see. I found a little bit of extra money inside the car. Fuel filter, fuel basket, those I'm keeping. These plastic interior parts I don't need, so those will be parting ways with. But this here is a good 60 pounds worth of OEM wire that I don't really know if I have a use for right now, but it's worth a good amount. It's completely intact. It's one piece, and I'm gonna see if I can keep it. Hopefully I don't have any electrical issues down the road, but I have every single wire from this car that will work on my other Mini. Now, because I have everything stripped off of that car, the red one, minus the doors, I'll be taking those off soon. When I have those removed, I'll be bringing that shell, bring it to the scrapyard, and hopefully get a couple $100 for it, which will also offset the cost of the purchase. So I have all of these right here. I have seats, I have every single airbag module, every interior piece removed and saved. I might convert my navigation Mini to this. I have passenger airbag, steering wheel airbag, JCW shift knob, center console piece, and yeah, I got a lot of parts to store and put away because I need to use this space for other stuff. So I want to show you guys this too. So I have pretty much every motor, anything that would be expensive in this car in this bucket as extra parts. So I have O2 sensors, I have all the seat belts, I have the fuse boxes, I have a clock spring, I have an ECU, I have another fuse box, I have this module here, which is I believe the amp, taillights, that is the engine wiring harness. I have another wiring harness here, and I also have that other big ass nest that I showed you. I have a set of front and rear seats that I'll probably just store and put aside, you know, depending on what I do with my other Mini. But I have these as extras. So I don't know why I bought this car, but it was too good of a price for me to pass up on. And given that the engine and transmission go for more than what basically this car is worth, or basically what I paid for it, I'd say this is a smart move on my end. So if you guys recall from the first time that I built this, or my white Mini, it took me a long time to get that thing up and running because I had only one engine, one transmission to get all this stuff done, you know, and installed. And yeah, I think it would make a lot more sense if I had an extra one. So if you guys are actually looking at doing a motor build or a tranny swap or something like that, I think it makes more sense if you guys have an extra engine like that one there, which is actually the motor that's gonna be going in my Civic. And that is another story on its own. Yeah, I'm not gonna bore you guys too much, but long story short, I had a bunch of hiccups with the motor build for the Civic. The machine shop that I brought my motor to said they could get the job done, didn't get the job done right. I'll get into that for a future video. But what I'm saying for right now is that this Mini, this red one, is getting yanked out of the garage. I need to bring another car in here, and I'll show you the other car that I bought. I'm gonna move some of this stuff around, get that car in, and then I'll wrap up this video. Okay guys, so really late night plans. Not really had this in mind for this video, but there she goes. So that was a 2008 Infiniti G37S. I bought it with the intent to actually keep it, but things didn't turn out that way. So because I had my old Z, if you guys are familiar with the channel, because I had that thing, I wanted something similar. The G37 was a very cheap way to get into that market, whereas the same motor, same transmission, drivetrain is pretty much identical. However, it didn't exactly drive the way I wanted to. So it felt nice, body lines were great, I couldn't really complain with that car. However, it wasn't a Z. So I bought that thing. It wasn't exactly in perfect running condition. It needed spark plugs, one coil pack. I did a oil change to it. I put new wipers on it and a couple more things. A clock spring. I also refinished the wheels and tires, and I just sold it literally this evening. And hopefully this means more car part money. So maybe I can throw that into whatever other car. But in the meantime, I don't know what makes the most amount of sense. Getting a car and completely parting it out and stripping it back and selling parts off of it, or let's say get a car that maybe needs a little bit of work, do the work, and then sell it. Alrighty guys, so I was able to get the whole Mini situation and G37 situation sorted. So both cars are now gone. So the garage now only has the Civic in here, and that's what we're gonna be working on next. And I actually have a lot of things in store for this, and I have to get it done ASAP, and I'll tell you why in a second. But before I get into that, I just wanted to give you guys a rundown as to kind of what each car, you know, what it made. So the Mini, I'm gonna start off with that. I paid $2,200 for that car. The parts that I sold, I made $4,905 from. Okay, that is the DME, the owner's manual, battery cover, headlights, driver's side rear quarter belt line trim, the antenna base, the front grille, the JCW brakes, so calipers, rotors, pads, and lines, the aluminum wheels that came on it, the authentic JCW catback, sold that, the hood and fenders I sold, the throttle body, and then I posted up the shell for sale, just so that, if anyone, could make use of the shell and the ownership instead of me scrapping it, hopefully I can help someone. So I ended up selling that for more than what I was actually gonna get from the scrapyard, given the car was completely stripped back. So with all that sold, I made $4,900 on that. I spent about 50 hours. So if you take a look at the profits, I basically made, at 50 hours, $54 an hour. That's pretty good. That's cash. And that's also not including all the parts that I kept. So the cats, the engine, the transmission, the axles, all the extra parts that would be beneficial if I'm gonna be beating the crap out of the car. So I pretty much have a replacement for all the important bits for my Mini here. So I think I did pretty good with that. Now with that being said, I needed to not only have the car, I needed to have this space to basically strip down the car. I needed the space to store the parts, and also I needed the tools so that I could actually wrench on the vehicle. Now, as for the G37S, so I bought that car for $8,000. I had to replace one of the batteries for the keys. I removed the very old PPF that was on the front of the hood. I wet sanded that area. I polished the headlights while I was at it. I scanned the check engine light that I had, so it had a misfire. It turned out it was a coil pack, but I also replaced the spark plugs while I was at it too. I replaced a very corroded ground. I made my own. The car came with OEM suspension in the trunk, and the car came on coilovers. So I ended up selling those coilovers, and I just swapped the OEM suspension onto the car. I had to buy 2 replacement headlight bulbs, like the daytime running lights, like the parking ones, not the actual HID bulbs. The car came on 18-inch G35 wheels. I ended up selling those, but also bought some used G37S wheels, like the 19s. So I ended up making a little bit of money on top of that. I bought the car for $8,000. I made $184 after the wheel situation, tire situation, and all those parts. And I ended up selling the car for just a little bit under $12,000. So with all that being said, I spent about 10 to 15 hours at most replacing some of those parts on the car, including the clock spring, the passenger door handle, giving it a wash, doing all that stuff. All in all, I made over $4,000 on top of that too. So there's money to be made on both ends, whether you're parting a car or you're fixing and flipping, but you do need money up front if you're gonna be buying a vehicle, doing some work on it, and then hopefully selling it. So you're gonna have a little bit of money tied up. It's entirely up to you guys what you guys want to do. If you wanna make a little bit of extra money, there's 2 different ways here, and they both are practical. And also cash. So I made a little bit of money doing this with both of those cars, and that money that I made, I'm actually gonna be dumping it not into a car, but into the garage. So I have the concrete ready to be hacked up, pretty much. I have a bin coming in so I can store all my stuff in. I have a bin coming in for when they hack up the concrete, they can put that in there. And then within the next couple weeks, I'm actually gonna have them come in here, do all that, and then re-pour all of this with a thicker slab right here for the 2-post hoist to be installed. So I don't have the hoist yet, but the money that I got from those cars will be put towards the concrete and the hoist. But I have a bunch of work to get done in here before they can do the concrete work, which means the Civic that is on jack stands needs some work done to it. So I need to figure out the suspension situation. I have a bunch of parts here on my toolbox and also over here that all need to be thrown on the Civic. So stay tuned, guys. I have a bunch of projects coming up. If you guys want to stay up to date with what's happening here in the garage, click the sub button. Thank you guys so much for watching. Quick question for you. What do you think makes more sense? Parting or fixing and flipping? Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.